Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm here for a list video, and it's going to be for albums from 2006 turning 15 years old in 2021. This won't be a numbered list. I'm just going to go from the top of the list all the way to the bottom until I'm done. I just wanted y'all to know that before I started with the list itself. So with that being said though, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first album we're going to be talking about is going to be The Fall of Ideals by All That Remains. This album is one of their best albums. I really love this album. I think it's their best album, and a lot of people would agree with that when they say this is All That Remains' best album that they ever released. I don't think any of their other albums could ever top this. This is one of the greatest metalcore albums, not just of 2006, but one of the best metalcore albums of all time, and would easily be in my top 3 probably. So that's got to tell you how great that album is by All That Remains. So I had to put this album on this list. Great album. Check it out if you're a fan of metal or metalcore. Either way, check out the album, because you won't be disappointed. Okay, up next is Phobia by Breaking Benjamin. Now, I don't have this album on CD, but I've heard some of the songs digitally and on YouTube before. So, yeah, I'm not sure where this album would stand for me when it comes to it being one of my favorites, but it is a great album, though. You got a lot of great songs on it, like Evil Angel, Diary of Jane, You, and many other great songs. But yeah, man, this album is basically what put Breaking Benjamin on the map and made them a pretty big band in the rock community. So, that's awesome, and yeah, man, I just really like that album. So yeah, Phobia by Breaking Benjamin, great album. One of the best rock or hard rock albums of 2006. Alright, up next is going to be another metalcore album, and it's by the band The Devil Wears Prada and their debut album, Dear Love, A Beautiful Discord. And yeah, I don't go back to this album all that much, but I still like it though for what it is. And I think it is one of their better albums because we already know in the later part of their career they've gone downhill with their music and the direction that they took. But with their debut album, Dear Love, A Beautiful Discord, I think it's a pretty good album. I don't go back to it much, like I said, but it still is a good album, and I thought I'd include it on here still. So, third album in the list is Dear Love, A Beautiful Discord by metalcore band, or former metalcore band, The Devil Wears Prada. Okay, up next is The Open Door by Evanescence. Now, this is another album that I do not have on CD, but it is a great album. So yeah, The Open Door, it's not as good as their debut album, Fallen, which came out in the year 2003, but I still think this is a pretty good follow-up, though, to Fallen. But either way, The Open Door has a lot of great songs, like Call Me When You're Sober, Lithium, and many other great songs. So yeah, despite it not being as good as Fallen, it's still definitely worth checking out. So if you're a fan of like alternative rock or gothic music or anything in that nature, then The Open Door is the perfect album for you. So yeah, The Open Door by Evanescence had to make the list. Still a great album though, regardless of that. Alright, up next is IV by Godsmack. Now, this album, it's not one of their best albums, but it still has some great songs on it, like The Enemy, Speak, and many other great songs. But yeah, it's not one of my favorites or anything from Godsmack, but it still is an album that you should check out, especially if you're a fan of Godsmack and anything else they've ever done. But I don't think it's one of their best albums, but it's not that bad though. But it's not one of their best albums, but it still is worth checking out if you're a fan of the band. So yeah, Godsmack's album, IV, had to make the list, despite not being one of my favorites or one of their best albums. Okay, up next is Supremacy by Hatebreed. Another album that I do not have on CD, but I still wanted to include it on here, though, because it is a pretty good album. Now, like I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of I'm not the biggest fan of Hatebreed by any means, but Supremacy has some good songs, though, like Destroy Everything, one of my favorites on the album, and some other good songs that I don't remember the name of their songs, but I mean, for this album, I don't know many of the song titles by heart, but Destroy Everything is a song I remember on top of my head when it comes to the name of it. But regardless, though, Supremacy by Hatebreed has to be on here. Great album. Up next is A Matter of Life and Death by Iron Maiden. Now, this album is kind of divided from the Iron Maiden fan base. A lot of fans have it near the bottom of their rankings, which I could partially agree with, but I wouldn't have it that low because it is in my top 10 Iron Maiden albums. Because I did do a ranking for Iron Maiden before, and I had this album, I believe, somewhere in my top 10. I think at number 8, and I still stand by that because this album is not as bad as many people says it is. But yeah, Matter of Life and Death, Iron Maiden, good album. So if you're a fan of classic metal and Iron Maiden, then still check out this album because it's really good. Okay, up next is As Daylight Dies by Killswitch Engage. This was their second album to include vocalist Howard Jones, and one of their best albums with Howard Jones. Not my favorite Howard Jones era for Killswitch Engage. That would go to their album Den of Heartache, but As Daylight Dies is still a great album. You got songs like My Curse, This Is Absolution, and some other really good songs. So yeah, this is one of their best albums in my top 3. Not number 1 or 2 for my Killswitch Engage ranking, but still is a good album. It would be at number 3 for a Killswitch Engage ranking, so it's pretty awesome. So yeah, As Daylight Dies, one of their best albums, and one of their best with Howard Jones on vocals. So if you're a fan of metalcore again, check out this album, because it's well worth your time. Alright, up next is Sacrament by Lamb of God. Yeah, man, this is probably my second favorite Lamb of God album, right behind their 2004 album, Ashes of the Wake. Just a really great album from start to finish. Some highlights on the album, though, would be Redneck, Walk With Me in Hell, Black and the Cursed Sun, or whatever that song was called. It's on that Sacrament album by Lamb of God that I'm mentioning right now. Great album, one of their best. So yeah, definitely go check it out if you're a fan of Lamb of God and groove metal. So yeah, Sacrament had to be on here. Great album. Alright, up next is End of Silence by Red. And yeah, man, Breathe Into Me from this album was my first Red song I ever heard. Probably many years ago, I just didn't remember it. But in the later part of the 2010s, I finally learned who sung the song. And yeah, I've been a fan of the song for many years. I just didn't remember it by heart growing up, because I probably did hear the song at one point in my life growing up, because I was a rock fan back in the day, and I still am. I'm just saying that it was probably one of the many rock songs I heard in my child days of a young child. But yeah, overall though, End of Silence, great Red album. My favorite Red album until this very day. I've only been a fan of Red for like 2 years now, so I haven't been a fan of them long, but so far End of Silence is my favorite Red album. And if you're a fan of hard rock, once again, check out this album, because it's fantastic from beginning to end, every time you hear it. Great album. Alright, up next is Comatose by Skillet. Yeah, man, one of Skillet's best albums, definitely a fan favorite album from Skillet, along with albums like Awake and even Collide. Great album. Comatose is a great album. One of my favorite Skillet albums of all time. You got a lot of great songs like the title track Comatose, Rebirthing, and some other really good songs. So yeah, Comatose, definitely a great album, and another great Christian rock album of 2006. Check it out. Alright, now this next album is another album that I do not have on CD, but it is Christ Illusion by Slayer. And yeah, man, some really good songs on Christ Illusion by Slayer, and the album cover itself did cause a lot of controversial things back then, and they had to change up the album cover some because of the original album cover. But either way, I like both versions of the album cover. But yeah, I mean, the album overall is pretty good. Now, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Slayer albums of all time or anything, but it still is a damn great thrash metal album. So I really don't have much else to say about it because I don't have it on CD and I can't remember much about it, but I do remember some of the songs though, like Jihad and some other good songs. I think another good song on there was called Black Serenade. I think that's the name of it. It could be wrong, but I don't remember. But either way, Christ Illusion by Slayer, still a great album and well worth being on here. So yeah, Christ Illusion by Slayer had to make this list. Alright, up next is another album that I don't have on CD. A lot of these albums I have on CD, but most of these albums I have on CD, but some of them I don't. And Come Whatever May by Stone Sour was up next after Christ Illusion by Slayer. It's a Stone Sour album that I do like, I just don't have it on CD, but some of my favorites on there would be Through Glass. I just can't remember the name of the other songs, because I've listened to other songs from this album before digitally, but I'm bad at remembering song names on top of my head, guys, so bear with me here. But yeah, though, this album, Come Whatever May by Stone Sour, is amazing. Now, I know this band gets a lot of shit compared to Slipknot, but I still think Stone Sour is a good band for what they are. So yeah, Come Whatever May, though, out of everything I've heard so far from Stone Sour, one of my favorite albums from them, and hopefully one of these days I can get it on CD, along with the other albums that's in this list that I don't have on CD. So yeah, Come Whatever May, though, by Stone Sour, another great album on here. Alright, up next is 1X by 3 Days Grace, and if you guys know me by now, you guys probably know this is my favorite 3 Days Grace album of all time. One of their best albums of all time. You got songs like Riot, Never Too Late, The Animal I've Become, title track, among other great songs. So yeah, man, if you're a fan of alternative rock, alternative metal, or anything in that nature, then 1X by 3 Days Grace is an album that's right up your alley. Well worth your time from start to finish. So yeah, 1X, definitely their best album. Okay, up next is The Crusade by Trivium. Now, this is more of a thrash metal album from Trivium compared to their first two albums. It's a departure from the metalcore stuff. It's pretty much a album that was influenced by Metallica for the band Trivium. Like I said, it's more of a thrash album, and it actually is my least favorite Trivium album these days, The Crusade, but it still is a good album for what it is. So yeah, it has a lot of good songs though, like Becoming the Dragon, The Rats. I think that's the name of the song on the album, The Rats. That's a good song. And some other really good songs. So yeah, The Crusade by Trivium, despite it being my least favorite Trivium album these days, I think it is a good album. Not bad, just my least favorite album these days, because I think Trivium does have better albums in their discography. So if you like thrash metal though, still check out The Crusade by Trivium, because if you're a fan of Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Exodus, Testament, and other thrash bands or thrash metal in general, then The Crusade is an album that's for you. So yeah, The Crusade had to be on here. Great album. Up next is going to be The Duchess by Fergie. This is one of her 2 solo albums. Yeah, man. Fergie's album, The Duchess, is one of my favorite albums of my childhood. Yeah, man. This album is amazing. I mean, it's not going to be for everyone, but it's an album that I love personally. I just can't describe it, because it's just an album where it has a lot of songs that I grew up with, either as a young kid or preteen, but mainly as a child. But yeah, man, I fucking love this album, and I just can't believe it's going to be 15 years old in September of 2021. It's just hard to believe that one of my favorite childhood albums is going to be 15 years old. It's just fucking hard to believe, man. So yeah, The Duchess, though, it mixes pop music with some hip-hop songs and R&B songs, so it's a pretty eclectic album by Fergie, and definitely her best solo album, that's for sure. Got a lot of great songs like Big Girls Don't Cry, Glamorous, Fergalicious, All That I Got, Here I Come, and among other great songs. So yeah, The Duchess, one of my favorite pop albums of 2006 by far. Had to be on here. Okay, Up next is The Sweet Escape by Gwen Stefani. This is probably my favorite Gwen Stefani album out of her solo stuff. I mean, her debut album, Love Angel Music Baby, which came out 2 years before The Sweet Escape, I think is a good album, but The Sweet Escape, I think, is the better album between the two. So yeah, I had to put The Sweet Escape on here. Probably my favorite out of her solo material. Just some really great songs on it, like the title track, The Sweet Escape, 4 in the Morning, Early Winter, Now That You Got It, and some other great songs. Sure, it has some songs that are kind of corny, but it still has a lot of great songs despite its corny songs that it has. It has a mix of great songs and meh or corny songs, but overall, I think it's worth being on here. Okay, just a few more albums left, guys. So let's go to move on to the next album on the list. And the next album in the list is going to be Future Sex Love Sounds by Justin Timberlake. This is easily my favorite out of his solo material. I mean, his other solo albums are great, don't get me wrong, but Future Sex Love Sounds is just another album that I heard some songs from growing up as a young child, and it just brings back a lot of great memories to me and my childhood days, along with The Duchess by Fergie and among other great pop albums from 2006. So yeah, man, Future Sex Love Sounds, my favorite Justin Timberlake solo album of all time. Even here in 2021 still, going on 15 years later, this album still holds up very well. At least in my opinion. Some people may disagree, but that's fine. But me personally, I think this album holds up very well, even almost 15 years later. So yeah, a lot of great songs on Future Sex Love Sounds by Justin Timberlake, including What Goes Around Comes Around, Summer Love. What is some other good songs on Future Sex Love Sounds? You even got a song on there called Chomp Me Up, which is a really underrated song. Great song, though. Sexy Back. Yeah, Sexy Back was the song I was looking for. Sexy Back is a great song. One of his most popular songs, My Love, featuring T.I., is another great song on Future Sex Love Sounds. So yeah, definitely an album worth checking out. For sure. Alright. Up next is I'm Not Dead by Pink. Yeah, man, Pink, I think she's one of the best female singers in either pop music or pop rock, because she does have a pretty eclectic discography. But yeah, I'm Not Dead had to be on here. A lot of great songs like Stupid Girls, Who Knew, Nobody Knows. I think that's the name of that song, Nobody Knows. I can't remember the name of it up top of my head, y'all, but it's a great song, though. Dear Mr. President was a decent song. Not one of my favorites on the album, but it is a great song. You in Your Hand was a great song from Pink on her I'm Not Dead album, among some other good songs. So yeah, it had to be on here. Great album. Definitely one of her best. Alright, just 2 more albums left, guys. So yeah, the next album on the list is going to be Loose by Nelly Furtado. Yeah, man. This is maybe my favorite Nelly Furtado album of all time. I mean, her other albums aren't bad or anything, but I think Loose is her best album. And it's just another album that I heard songs from growing up as a child, because I was big on pop music growing up, among some other music genres. But yeah, Loose, definitely probably my favorite Nelly Furtado album. Lots of great songs like Say It Right, Promiscuous, Do It, In God's Hands, All Good Things Come to an End, and some other great songs. So yeah, Loose, definitely a great album. If you're a fan of pop music or anything like that, definitely check out Loose by Nelly Furtado, because it's a great album. Alright, so let's go to move on to the last album on the list. So the last album on the list is going to be the self-titled album by Daughtry. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Daughtry, if I gotta be honest, but yeah, man, their self-titled album is one of their best albums, along with their album Leave This Town, but we're not talking about 2009, we're talking about 2006, because their second album did not come out until 2009. But yeah, their self-titled album came out in late 2006, definitely a great album, and my favorite album of Daughtry's whole career, because this band actually went downhill after Leave This Town. But yeah, self-titled album, definitely their best album, in my honest opinion. A lot of people would probably disagree with me, because there is a lot of fans who like their newer music, but their newer music just isn't for me. But yeah, Self-Titled album by Daughtry is definitely an album that I love, though. Great album. Lots of great songs on it, like Home, It's Not Over, Over You, Crash, and some other good songs. So yeah, Daughtry's Self-Titled album has to be on here. Great album. Easily their best album, if you ask me. So yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for albums from 2006, turning 15 years old in 2021. So yeah, guys, let me know some of your favorite albums from 2006, and so on and so forth. I know I didn't include certain albums on here. Even if I do like them, I just couldn't include everything on here because this video was long as it is. So yeah, with that being said, though, I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.